Hey kids, today I bring you the end result of far too much time spent on just ridiculous things. This is a deck I'm calling the Rorschach Pile, because how you react to it and what you see tells me basically everything about you. This deck is designed with the idea that Gen and Ken are broken, so let's haul ass to Gen and Ken and hand loop for 1,000,000 and then search whatever broken, crazy, normal spell or trap we need. In this case, the goal is to use Geonator Transverser after we give our opponent Ken using Gen, that we summon off a Solda. We use Geonator Transverser to take the Ken, give our opponent Ken so we can get both effects, or give our opponent Gen with Ken rather, and then overlay for the Armor Exceeds line, which gives us a non-targeting attach. To set all this up, we've got a 1,000,001 card starters, ranging from the Horus cards to the Vsauce pile stuff, and to some 4-mud skipper nonsense. In general, this deck is highly consistent, highly capable, and just really stupid. It's so fun. I mean, it's on Horn of the Unicorn, for God's sake. This was deemed to be the 3rd best equipped spell. I kid you not. So let's get into the games. For our first game, we'll be going second against Testina with the new support, and I haven't really given these much of a read, and let's see if I have to. Can they beat one single Ash Blossom? Survey says no. They'll set a Book of Eclipse after passing on Return of the Testina, after I ash their Bat Testina, and we are going to lead with a Rota. Rota grabs Prisma, which we will now normal summon and activate the effect Really Vicious Extra Loud, then make a Funko Pop and use the effect to go grab Reichphobia. Reichphobia adds us a copy of Reichheart, which we will special summon, and search a copy of Arrival. Vsauce Samsara is going to summon itself. I'm trying to force out the new Testina trap card here by threatening to, just have a guy trying to, use that before I use the Arrival, because worst case, if I'm left with just these, I can still play through it, I can still do full combo, but it was Book of Eclipse, so I didn't really need to. We'll ash the Book of Eclipse, and now we are free to go off. First Flame Swordsman into Isolde. Isolde is going to eat a nib, which sucks, but we get a token. We'll add a Vsauce Starfrost, and then Arrival back, this copy of Reichheart, and make Cross Sheep. We'll go for Astro Loud, and then reborn a card, and pop the nib token. We'll reborn the Prisma, go to battle, just get in some damage, and then in second main, we'll make an SP Little Knight, banish the Bat Testina, and this should be enough to wrap it up. They're going to draw a Tainted, set 1 card, and in draw phase, surrender. For our next game, we'll be going second against Cyber Dragon, and we have opened pretty crazy. They're going to normal summon Core, and then use Core to go grab Overflow, then pitch Hertz for a Soldier. Hertz is going to add Cyber Dragon, and then Soldier is going to add Soldier, which they'll now pitch this Cyber Dragon to summon itself. They'll go for Nova and reborn this copy of Hertz, then go for Infinity, Linkaribo, Repair Plant for a copy of Noxter, and then make Almirage, set an Overflow, Overload Fusion for Rampage, and mill a couple cards. They'll pass turn, and let's try and force out that Infinity. We'll go ahead and Horus for a Sark, then Rhoda for a Prisma, and activate the Prisma. Because we have Samsara, if they activate Infinity, then we're basically just free to pop off, because we can just Samsara shuffle back the Vsauce. We'll activate the Sark, and then special summon Insati, and then go to battle phase, punching over the Linkaribo, and then docking the Infinity. In main phase 2, we'll make the Funko Pop, and then activate the Reichphobia we already had, then special Reichheart. Reichheart is going to grab Arrival, which will then summon out a Vsauce Starfrost, and then we'll make Transverser. Big misplay here was putting Vsauce in this column, because it cut me off on Exceed, and giving my opponent the Funko Pop, which was what I really should have done. We'll make a Bear on the floor to force out the Overflow, which we will negate, and now we are basically free to make a Sola. We'll special Samsara by shuffling back the Vsauce, and then go for First Flame Swordsman, which allows us to summon Exceed. Exceed summons Exceed, and now we are going to pop the Rampage Dragon. This triggers the Almirage. They used Almirage, so now we can thrust for Talent, and then we'll go for Isolde. Isolde is going to add a Prisma, and then we'll Sark away the Prisma for a Dwarmatef. We'll go ahead and mill 3 to summon again to our opponent's field, and then Sword of Deep Sea returns itself to the top of the deck. We'll give our opponent Ken, which will force us to draw 2, and then discard 1 its Vsauce. We'll give our opponent Ken, and then second mistake, I forgot that I hadn't activated Ken yet, so I hand link with talents, but I should have just taken the Rampage to link off. My mistake. It doesn't matter though, because we'll Torpedo for a copy of Evenly Matched, go into Armor Fortress, which will grab ourselves a Full Armor Xyz, which will pitch for a Happy, then go into Dark Lancer, which will add back the Xyz armor, Full Armor Xyz, which will pitch for Kebasanouf. We'll summon Vicious Astral Loud, and our opponent will concede, seeing that we've still got basically all the gas in the world to go off. For our next game, we'll be going first against a deck near and dear to my own heart, Blackwing. They are on a build I don't agree with, which is the Bestial version, but it's okay. Sometimes you're allowed to be wrong. I'm not, though. So we're going to start with a Hero Lives, paying 4,000, which will get us a Prisma, which will now reveal Vicious Astral Loud to send a Starfrost. We'll make a Funko Pop and grab ourselves a Reichphobia, but before we use it, we'll go ahead and get some value out of that Paraisos, grabbing a Scare Cash, and then we'll activate Reichphobia, grabbing Reichheart. Reichheart grabs a copy of Arrival, which will now reborn a Vsauce. We'll go for Rhoda for a copy of Gen, I suppose. Then we'll go ahead and banish this Arrival to summon a Scare Cash. That gives us first Slain Swordsman, we'll reborn Lightheart, then normal summon 4-mana Skipper, revealing a Soldo so it can be treated as a warrior. We'll add a Prisma as well as a Parallel Xyz to hand, and then make Baronne de Fleur. We'll Isolde for 3 to summon Gen to our field, putting this sword back on top of the deck. We'll Sark away this Prisma for a Duomatef, and then this Gen for a Happy, and then Gen for Ken, which will let us draw 2 and discard a Synamite. Let's take a peek at that hand. We'll shuffle away the copy of Sudri, so that way they have to draw a name specifically, and this puts them on a line that is very weak to negation. Now we'll go ahead and make Transverser and give ourselves Gen, summon Gen to our opponent's field. They'll discard Twin Shadow. Now we can make Torpedo, draw a card, make Xyz Armor Fortress, grab Full Armored, and pitch it to the Sark. We'll make Dark Knight Lancer, add it back, and then pitch it again to send Kebasanouf. And now we can go ahead and make Cross Sheep, summon the Xyz, Xyz effect summons another Xyz, and now we can make it Mighty Masquerena. At this point, our opponent will concede. Next up, we'll be going first against Diab Bellar Live Twin. We are going to start off with a Hero Lives, which will summon a Prisma. Prisma is now going to reveal Astral Loud to send Starfrost, but it gets impermed. That's fine. We did everything we needed to as cost. We'll go ahead and make Funko Pop, and they ashed it, but Samsara is a 1,500, so we can go after Cross Sheep, summon back the Prisma, make first Slain Swordsman, and that is Isolde, and Isolde is full combo. We'll add another Prisma. In retrospect, this probably could have been something else, but I don't know. We'll summon Gen, and then Gen to give our opponent Ken. Ken is now going to draw us 2, and then discard a Hero Lives. We'll Change of Heart the Ken to give our opponent Gen, and now they discard a Kiskill. We'll go for Xyz Armor Torpedo, which will draw a card, and ooh, that's Samsara. Let's shuffle back 2 and summon itself. Now we can reborn the Funko Pop and go for Xyz Armor Fortress, which will search us a copy of Full Armored Xyz. SP Little Knight is going to banish the name from the grave, and we're just going to set 2 and pass. In the draw phase, we'll go ahead and rank up into Dark Knight Lancer, and they're going to Hunter Fiend. That's going to get them to Black Witch, which will summon by pitching Gen. I'll imperm the Black Witch, and they are going to go to battle phase to force out the Little Knight. I don't fall for it, so that's fine. We'll summon Scare Cash, and they'll Talents to draw 2, which, my mistake. In retrospect, I should have just let them pass turn and summon this on my turn, but I just played into Talents for no reason. They're going to summon a Kiskill. We'll go for Dark Knight Lancer to attach the Kiskill, and that is going to wrap it up. We'll activate Sark and pitch Kebasanouf for Happy, then just summon the team. We'll pitch Prisma for Duomatef, and this is probably gain. We'll punch over at the Diab Bellar. They're going to resummon it, and then set a copy of Hunter Fiend. We'll punch over with the Sark effect, then 36 and 62 is game. For our next game, we'll be going first against Dark World, and all of a sudden, my discard effects aren't looking so hot. Will a Hero Lives for a copy of Prisma, and then Prisma revealing Vicious Astral Loud for a Starfrost. We'll make a Lightheart, and then Lightheart is going to grab Reichphobia, which we will now activate, grabbing a copy of Reichheart. Reichhart is going to grab our rival, and our rival is going to reborn Vsauce. I really should stop putting it in that zone. Then we'll pitch this evenly matched for a Sark and an extra card. Drawing the second Ken sucks here. We're going to normal summon Ken and give our opponent Gen. Gen is then going to make them discard, and it's Snow. Oh shit, oh fuck, that's a Dark World accession. We'll summon a copy of Cross Sheep, and then go for Lightheart, then make Baron de Fleur, pitching this 1/1 for a Happy, and then going for Astro Loud. Astro Loud's going to pop the Gen, which will now be reborn by the Cross Sheep, and give our opponent a copy of Ken from our hand. Ken lets us draw 2 and discard 1. Now we'll transgender to give our opponent Lightheart and make Xyz Armor Torpedo. Torpedo is going to grab a Paraisos, and then we'll pitch that for Duomatev. Then we'll summon Happy and Duomatev, and then search for Full Armored Xyz. We'll make Giant Trainer, and then pitch the Full Armored Xyz for Kevasunef. Then we'll go for Dark Lancer to add it back to our hand, and discard it once again for an Imseti. Then Giant Trainer is going to draw 1 and burn for 800, draw 1, and then that's not 800, and then draw 1 more, which is still not 800, but I'll take a Pot of Avarice. We'll shuffle back a Vsauce for Vsauce Samsara, and then make a 3-mat Appa, or 4-mat Appa, rather. That triggers the Xseed, which summons yet another copy of Xseed. Then we'll make IP Masquerada, and Pot of Avarice is going to refill our entire extra deck and draw 2. Moonmere Shield on the IP Masquerada guarantees that it's not going to be run over by battle, and that triggers the Dark Knight Lancer to attach the Funko Pop. During our opponent's draw phase, during our opponent's main phase, rather, they're going to Dark Corridor. We don't take the bait. They'll Accession. I negate that with Baron. They're going to add and then pitch Brow, which I will negate with Apo. On the read that they don't really have many good ways to discard, they'll Accession, pitching Rainbow, will negate that. Then they are going to set 2, and we are going to Full Armored Xyz to attach the back row. They're going to try to pass turn. We are going to SP Little Knight using the IP Masquerada, which will banish the Accession, and that basically wraps it up. We'll draw the Moonmere Shield that we stacked on top of the deck, and at standby, tag out for Prisma, which will reveal Astrolabe to mill these Vsauce. We're going to go to battle phase, and this is lethal. For our next game, we'll be going second against the Gate Guardian deck. Let's see if they're on the new stuff. Let's see here. Yes, they are on Dark Element. Okay, so they're going to start with Foolish Burial for a copy of Sangha of the Thunder. Then they'll summon Labyrinth Heavy Tank to place Kazajan and go straight for Gate Guardians combined. They'll set Double Attack, Wind and Thunder, and pass her. I wonder why they didn't Riryoku Garden to Dome me for 4K. Who knows? Anyways, we're going to Wraith Soth for Fenrir, which we will now special summon and search Scare Cache. We'll Moonmere Shield on the Fenrir and go Battle Phase, which will force out the Double Attack, Wind and Thunder. Moonmere Shield puts itself back on the bottom, and now we are free to pop off. We'll Signet Mining, pitching Vsauce for a 4-mud Skipper, then Skipper reveal a Lightheart. We'll go for Lightheart, and then Chainlink 1, search Field Spell, Chainlink 2, search Xseed. Now we can go ahead and activate the Reichphobia for no value and special the Reichheart. Reichheart grabs a Arrival, which will now reborn Vsauce, again to the center zone, massive misplay. We'll banish the Arrival, and like a dumbass, I didn't need to do this. So right now, I have the game state where I can make an Astrolabe and then chain block it, which would actually deal with the Gate Guardians combined. I just threw away a Popped for no reason, which, my bad. Then we'll make Cross Sheep and trigger the Xseed to summon itself and another copy. We'll make a Baron after reborning Lightheart and then go for IP, summon an Astrolabe and chain block with Cross Sheep to reborn 4-mud Skipper. They'll trigger that. We'll negate with Baron, so I don't feel bad about using it for a copy of the Isolda. Pop the Labyrinth Heavy Tank, make first Swing Swordsman, and then there's Isolda for 3. We're going to summon Gen, give our opponent Ken after stacking Sword Deep-Seated, and now we are going to draw 2 and discard 1, and that is a Pharaonic Sarcophagus. We are off to the races. We'll summon Duomatev, and then give our opponent Duomatev. Gen gives our opponent Ken, or Ken gives Gen, rather, which discards the Riryoku Guardian. We'll make Xyz Armor Torpedo after milling Happy, and then draw into a Rhoda, which will grab Prisma. We'll go for Armor Fortress, which will grab Full Armored Xyz, which will pitch for a copy of Imseti. We'll make Dark Lancer and add back Full Armored Xyz, which will now be pitched for a Kevasunef. We'll make Little Knight, banishing the double attack so we can cut off their follow-up, and all 3 of the guys should be enough to wrap it up, especially after they top deck Economic Protector. Why the fuck were they on forest cards? What for our next game, we'll be going up against Earth Machine. And I do make a massive throw here. In my defense, this deck is really hard. So we are going to start off with Pharaonic Sarcophagus, which will now discard a rival to mill Duamatef. Then we'll pitch Ash for Kebasanuef and Called By for Imseti. We're going to summon the guys and then overlay for Giant Trainer, hoping to fix the hand. We're going to grab a Change of Heart, a Hero Lives, pitch the Hero Lives for Happy, and then the last activation gets us a Vsauce. We'll Reborn Happy and then Tribute Summon Vsauce, which then gets us full combo. We'll grab Lightheart for Reichphobia for Reichheart summons itself, then we'll make Cross Sheep, which triggers Xseed, and Xseed is going to summon another Xseed. Then from here, we can summon Vicious Astra Loud, which will reborn this Ash and allow us to make the Ferocious Flames, or allow us to make the Ferocious Flame Swordsman, which gets us to a Solda, searching a Prisma. We're going to mill 3 for a copy of Gen, and then we're going to Sword of Deep Sea to put itself back on top. Gen summons Ken, and now Ken is going to fix our hand a bit. We are going to Change of Heart the Ken, and then Ken for a copy of Gen, and then Gen makes them discard. We're going to make Xyz Armor Torpedo, draw 1 card, Armor Fortress, search 1 card. Then we're going to, and this is the massive misplay. I popped the Gen before I used Thrust, so now this Thrust doesn't have any blowout targets because this was game 1. My bad. We'll make an Apo, an SP Little Knight, banish the Daracrane, Thrust for an Imperm, and just set the full Unmixed Season Pass. In the draw phase, or rather the standby phase, because I wasn't toggling on fast enough, we're going to make Dark Lancer. They're going to Talents, and they're going to redeploy it for their life savings, but Ash Blossom wraps it up. From here, we can summon Kebasanuef, Duamatef, and Imseti, and this is just, it's game. We've got a bunch of guys. It's game. Next up, we'll be going first against Labyrinth, and I've seen a lot of hands that are a lot better than this. So we're going to start off with Sark pitching a copy of Sword of Deep-Seated for Happy. Sword of Deep-Seated stacks itself. Now we'll Sign It Mining, pitching Duamatef for a 4-mud Skipper, which we will now normal summon, revealing Lightheart. We'll go for Lightheart and then add both an Xseed and a Reichphobia to hand, then activate Reichphobia, searching for Reichheart. Reichheart summons itself and grabs a copy of a rival, and now we can make the first Slain Swordsman. Our rival summons back the Reichheart, and that is Isolde. Isolde 1, Xseed 2, we're going to summon the Xseed and search a Prisma. In retrospect, this Prisma should have been a copy of Vsauce, because I then would have a really good discard for Ken, but that's my mistake. We'll summon another Xseed, and then Sark away this Prisma for Imseti, then Isolde for 3, summoning a copy of Gen. We're going to sword back the sword, and then Gen summons Ken, and let's fix that grip. We'll Talents to rip the Stovey out of their hand, and then we'll go for Transverser, giving our opponent a parallel Xseed. We'll pop the Xseed, and then give our opponent a copy of Gen, which will now force them to discard a card. They pitch EV, we make Torpedo, drawing 1, then we'll pitch the Vsauce Samsara for a Kebasanuef, and then we'll summon the team. We'll go for Armor Fortress, searching a copy of Full Armored, then we'll make Giant Trainer, and let's start drawing. Vsauce Samsara is minus 800. Prisma is minus 800. Ooh, Evenly Matched is not minus 800. We'll summon Happy, and then go for Astra Loud, allowing us to make an IP, and now we'll Samsara to summon itself. Lightheart summons itself from grave, and now we can make a 3-mat Apo, set 2, and pass turn. In draw phase, we'll go ahead and rank up for Dark Lancer, and they'll normal summon Ariana. We'll Apo, negate the Ariana to search, then they'll set 1 more card and scoop it up. Next up, we'll be going second into Tearlent. They're going to start off with Fenrir, and this Latina Fenrir is going to grab them a copy of Tearcash. They'll Perlerino for Sharon, and with the read that their hand is pretty poopy, I go ahead and Ash the Sharon, and for the most part I am correct, but the Tearcash is about to hit crazy. They'll banish this Fenrir, and then mill 3, and that's a Kelback. Okay, they're going to mill 5, hitting a couple of good cards. They're going to add a Reinhardt, and then make a Mud Dragon with the Merly. They'll go for Cross Sheep, then normal Reinhardt, milling a Havnus. Havnus is going to go ahead and fuse into a copy of Garura, which will then trigger the Perlerino, popping the Reinhardt to summon itself back to Cross Sheep's zone. They're going to send the Sharon, and then reborn the Diviner. They'll make Dragus Tepelia, and then Diviner mills Agido. Agido is now going to mill 5 more, which triggers Tearcash, which mills 2 more, which searches a Celiac, so now they can go for a Bahamut Toad. They're going to go for an IP, set the Celiac, and pass turn. Now, I'm going to special Fenrir and attempt to go battle phase to force out the IP, which now triggers a sprint. Sprint for Merly, and then Merly is going to go ahead and fuse into Kaleidoheart. Now, I'm going to use Fenrir to threaten the Toad, forcing them to not use the Kaleidoheart to shuffle. So they're going to use Toad to negate the Fenrir, which will then be set to our field. They're going to use Toad to add back Tier Cache, which they will immediately shotgun. They're going to banish another Fenrir and then mill a couple cards, hitting a Havness, which will now fuse into Dangerous. They've activated stuff and they don't have any spell or trap negates left, so I'll thrust for it evenly. Attempt to go battle phase, they'll use Dangerous to mill a Maui, and now let's just go ahead and clear it up. They'll go for Kaleidoheart to keep, and then we'll mining for 4-Mud Skipper, put back the sword, normal to Skipper, Skipper effect for Reveal Lightheart, and when we start going through our combo, they'll pack it up. And now for our last game, we'll be going first against Unchained. Pro Imperm is pretty spooky. We're going to start things off with a Latina Fem Rare, which is now going to add a copy of Scare Cache. We'll normal Ash and go for Barone, which puts a Fenrir in the grave for Scare Cache. They'll try to Imperm the Lightheart, to which we will Barone to Fleur, and now we'll grab a Reichphobia, which will grab Reichheart rather. Reichheart is going to add Arrival, and now we are going to make first Slain Swordsman, which will trigger Parallel Exceed. Exceed summons another Exceed, and now we'll go ahead and Arrival back this Reichheart, only to be met with a DD Crow. That sucks. We'll go for a Solda, and a Solda is going to let me add a Prisma to hand, and then summon a copy of Gen. Gen is now going to give our opponent Ken, which will be at the Transversor point. We'll draw 2, and then discard the Prisma. Then Imseti for Pharaonic Sarcophagus, and drawing a Starfrost. We'll pitch the Vsauce, and then mill Happy. Then go for Transversor and swap Exceed and Ken. We'll give our opponent Gen and force them to discard a card, then Talents to rip that Prosperity out of there, and go for Xyz on our Torpedo. Torpedo is going to draw a card, and oh, that's a thrust. We'll grab Avarice. We'll go for Armor Fortress and search for Full Armored Xyz, then go ahead and pop the Exceed. We'll summon back the guys, and then go for a Giant Trainer, then pitch the Full Armored Xyz for Kepasinue. We'll make Dark Lancer, and then start burning them. That's an Ash, Terraforming, and a Talons. We'll Terraforming for Wraith Soth, and then activate Wraith Soth, just grabbing a Fenrir for follow-up, I guess. Summon back Kepasinue, and make an Apo for 3. We'll Avarice to refresh our extra deck and draw 2 additional cards, then Rhoda for a copy of Prisma, once again for follow-up. We'll set the Imperm and pass it back. They top deck a Crow, and when they normal summon Rakea, we're just going to go ahead and fire Full Armored Xyz. They'll try to Crow the target, we'll Apo that, then we can just go ahead and attach the Rakea, and that's game. I don't even care if this is the best deck or not. This shit's sick. Like, come on. How could you hate this? It's penalty game turbo post-side. Like, this is awesome. This deck is epic. It goes hard, dude. Alright, see ya.